There's something unsettling about a man who cannot be controlled. He's polite but distant, observant yet unpredictable. He listens more than he speaks, and when he finally does, his words carry weight, not noise. This kind of man doesn't argue to prove a point or chase after validation. He simply knows who he is. And that quiet self-assurance terrifies narcissists and manipulators alike. To understand why, you have to look at the psychology of control. Narcissists and manipulators thrive on emotional reactions. They feed on attention, drama, and the ability to influence someone's state of mind. In psychological terms, they seek narcissistic supply, a constant stream of validation, admiration, or even conflict that makes them feel powerful. When they can trigger someone emotionally, they feel in control. But when they encounter a Sigma male, calm, detached, and unbothered, that power evaporates. His silence becomes their starvation. Sigma males operate differently from the social hierarchy most people play by. While others compete for dominance or approval, the Sigma stands outside the pyramid altogether. He's often introverted, analytical, and observant. Instead of reacting impulsively, he studies patterns of behavior, identifies motives, and chooses when or if to respond. This composure is not coldness, it's emotional intelligence. It reflects mastery over his own impulses and emotions, something narcissists lack entirely. Imagine a manipulator trying to guilt trip him. It fails. They attempt to make him jealous. It fails. They twist words to confuse him. He simply stares, calm and unmoved. His refusal to participate in the game makes the manipulator lose their footing because they can't exploit what they can't predict. In psychological terms, he breaks the reward cycle that keeps manipulative behavior alive. Ultimately, Sigma males terrify narcissists because they reveal the truth manipulators fear most, that their power only exists through the consent of others. When faced with a man who can't be provoked, controlled, or emotionally trapped, the narcissist sees a reflection of their own weakness. And in a world built on illusions of control, that realization is the most frightening mirror of all. Number one, Sigmas don't feed the narcissist's ego. Narcissists thrive on admiration. It's the lifeblood of their fragile self-esteem. Every compliment, every glance of approval, every moment they stand at the center of attention feeds the illusion that they are superior. Psychologists call this the endless external validation that keeps their ego inflated. Without it, their sense of worth begins to crumble. But here's where the Sigma male becomes their greatest nemesis. He is immune to that currency. Unlike others who play into the narcissist's performance, the Sigma male doesn't participate in their psychological games. He doesn't clap when the narcissist shows off or bite when they provoke him. His calm indifference cuts deeper than any insult ever could. While the narcissist thrives on reactions, good or bad, the Sigma's silence becomes unbearable. It's as if the mirror they use to admire themselves has gone dark. This detachment isn't arrogance, it's awareness. The Sigma understands human nature. He knows that energy follows attention, and he refuses to invest his energy in empty validation. This psychological strength, a blend of emotional intelligence and self-possession, dismantles the narcissist's control mechanism. Narcissists manipulate emotions to feel powerful, but when their target doesn't react, their illusion of dominance collapses. Research in personality psychology even supports this dynamic. Narcissists score high on extroversion and attention-seeking traits, but low on empathy and emotional stability. Sigma males, on the other hand, often display the opposite pattern: introspection, independence, and low social dependence. They don't crave admiration. They crave authenticity and peace, and this makes them impossible to manipulate. When a narcissist meets a Sigma, they meet silence, where they expect applause, observation, where they expect reaction. It's a psychological mismatch. The predator finds prey that doesn't fear them. The Sigma's composure acts like a mirror, reflecting the narcissist's insecurity back at them. Their tricks, once powerful, suddenly seem childish. In the end, what truly destroys the narcissist isn't confrontation, it's irrelevance. And the Sigma male, through his quiet self-assurance, delivers that lesson effortlessly. His lack of need becomes his greatest weapon, and his peace becomes the one thing the narcissist can never steal. Number 2, they possess emotional detachment. Manipulators are emotional strategists. They understand that logic rarely moves people. Emotions do. That's why they use fear to create control, guilt to weaken resistance, and affection to build dependence. Psychologically, this behavior is rooted in what's known as emotional conditioning. By rewarding compliance with warmth and punishing independence with coldness or anger, manipulators slowly train others to act in their favor. It's a silent form of control, one that bypasses reason and strikes directly at the heart. But Sigma males are built differently. They don't rely on external validation, nor are they easily swayed by emotional theatrics. Their strength lies in detachment without indifference. This doesn't mean they're cold or heartless. In fact, many Sigmas are deeply empathetic. They simply don't allow emotions to dictate their decisions. This emotional self-regulation is a psychological trait known as high emotional intelligence with low emotional dependency. It allows them to feel fully while staying centered, like standing in the middle of a storm without being carried away by the wind. When a manipulator tries to trigger fear, the Sigma calmly observes. When guilt is used as a weapon, he reflects instead of reacting. And when false affection is offered, he sees through the mask because his sense of worth doesn't depend on others' approval. Studies in social psychology show that people with strong internal validation systems, those who draw confidence from their own values rather than external praise, are significantly less likely to fall for manipulative behavior. The Sigma male embodies this principle naturally. He's the kind of man who listens more than he speaks, observes before he engages, and questions everything before accepting it. This awareness makes him unpredictable to manipulators because their usual emotional hooks don't work. They can't guilt him, scare him, or flatter him into submission. His composure is his armor. His self-awareness is his weapon, and his emotional balance makes him unshakable. In a world where manipulation thrives on emotional chaos, the Sigma stands as a reminder of what true power looks like: calm, centered, and in full control of the inner world. He feels deeply, but he is never ruled by what he feels. And that's why no manipulator can ever move him like a pawn. Number 3, they see through people instinctively. The Sigma male's quiet nature is not a sign of weakness or social withdrawal. It's the armor of observation. Beneath his calm exterior lies a razor-sharp intuition honed through years of silent study. While most people rush to speak, the Sigma listens. He doesn't just hear words, he decodes tone, studies micro-expressions and watches the small inconsistencies that others miss. Psychology calls this thin slicing, the brain's ability to make accurate judgments based on limited information. What makes the Sigma exceptional is how effortlessly he applies this ability. Without drawing attention, he reads the emotional temperature of a room like a seasoned detective. When a manipulator begins their performance, layering flattery, twisting logic, or projecting false confidence, the Sigma doesn't react. He observes. His silence becomes unnerving because manipulators feed on emotional responses. They depend on your defensiveness or eagerness to please. But with the Sigma, there's only stillness. Behind those steady eyes, he's already mapping behavioral patterns, measuring tone shifts, and comparing them with past encounters. Before the manipulator even finishes their act, the Sigma has already seen through the mask. This awareness creates a power shift. Once the manipulator realizes their deception has been detected, fear begins to erode their confidence. Every fake smile, every rehearsed line now feels exposed. In psychology, this reaction is tied to what's called the spotlight effect, when people believe others are scrutinizing their every move. For a deceiver, it's terrifying. They sense that the Sigma sees not just their words, but their intentions, their contradictions, their hidden motives. Deception thrives in confusion and emotional chaos. The Sigma starves it by staying grounded, detached, and calm. This is the moment the manipulator loses control, because manipulation at its core is a game played in the dark, built on uncertainty and illusion. Once light enters, the magic fades. The Sigma male's gift isn't that he's immune to deceit. It's that he recognizes the patterns before they form. His intuition serves as both a shield and a mirror, reflecting the truth others try to hide. In a world full of noise and pretense, the Sigma's quietness becomes his greatest weapon, because those who see clearly can never be controlled by shadows. Number 4, they don't rely on social validation. A narcissist's world is built on the fragile foundation of external validation. Their sense of worth depends entirely on how others perceive them, on admiration, praise, and control. Psychologists describe this as narcissistic supply, a constant need for attention to maintain their inflated self-image. Without it, they crumble. But when a narcissist encounters a Sigma male, something unusual happens. Their usual tricks, manipulation, guilt, and flattery, stop working. It's like trying to control the wind with a rope. Sigma males walk a path entirely different from the social hierarchy narcissists thrive in. While narcissists chase approval, Sigma males rely on. Their confidence doesn't come from applause, but from inner conviction. Studies in personality psychology suggest that individuals with high self-differentiation, the ability to remain true to one's beliefs despite social pressure, show greater emotional stability and independence. Sigma males embody this principle. They know their value without needing to be reminded, praised, or compared. This psychological independence dismantles a narcissist's entire system of power. You can't bribe a Sigma male with compliments because he doesn't crave them. You can't control him through silence or rejection because he doesn't seek belonging in the same way others do. His self-esteem functions like an internal power plant, silent but endlessly renewable. And for narcissists who survive by feeding on emotional reactions, this is deeply unsettling. They find themselves powerless, unable to provoke or manipulate. In social dynamics, the Sigma male represents emotional autonomy. He listens but doesn't absorb toxicity. He observes but doesn't engage in the drama. This makes him unpredictable, a trait that deeply frustrates narcissists, who depend on predictability to maintain control. According to behavioral research, manipulative individuals often test boundaries to measure emotional compliance. When those tests fail, they lose interest or become aggressive, revealing their dependence on dominance. The Sigma male doesn't fight back with the same weapons. He simply withdraws, setting silent boundaries that say, "You don't control me." His peace, self-awareness, and emotional discipline expose the narcissist's weakness, dependence on others for validation. In a world obsessed with attention and approval, the Sigma's indifference is rebellion. It's not arrogance, it's mastery of self. And that mastery, more than anything else, is what truly terrifies manipulators, because it reminds them of what they'll never have: freedom from the need to be seen. Number 5, they set boundaries without emotion. Sigma males don't explain or argue their limits. They enforce them quietly. This calm assertiveness is one of the most misunderstood aspects of their psychology. In a world where people often mistake silence for weakness or indifference, the Sigma's restraint is, in fact, one of his greatest strengths. He knows that true power doesn't need to shout or justify itself. Boundaries, to him, aren't about controlling others. They're about protecting peace, energy, and self-respect. From a psychological standpoint, this behavior reflects what experts call emotional regulation and self-differentiation. People with high emotional intelligence understand that explaining their limits to someone who doesn't value them is a waste of energy. Instead of engaging in endless debates or justifying his choices, the Sigma simply acts. His no doesn't come with anger, it comes with clarity. He knows that every time he explains his boundaries to someone who keeps crossing them, he gives away a piece of his power. So he withdraws, quietly, decisively. To manipulators, this silence feels like rejection. They thrive on emotional reactions, arguments, guilt, and persuasion give them a sense of control. When the Sigma doesn't respond, it creates a void they can't manipulate. His lack of drama confuses them because their usual tactics don't work. He won't argue, defend, or beg to be understood. He simply detaches, leaving the manipulator powerless in their own game. This quiet withdrawal is rooted in psychological resilience. Studies in behavioral science show that emotionally independent individuals, those who rely on inner validation rather than external approval, are far less susceptible to manipulation and social pressure. But for the Sigma, this is not about proving superiority. It's about maintaining peace. His boundaries act as a shield, preserving his focus and mental clarity. He knows that peace is expensive and not everyone deserves access to it. This mindset often makes others label him as cold or detached, but in truth, he's simply selective. His silence speaks volumes. It says, "I don't need to fight to be understood. I just need to protect my energy." In the end, the Sigma male's quiet enforcement of boundaries is not an act of arrogance. It's self-respect in its purest form. While others seek validation through confrontation, he seeks freedom through stillness. And that is what makes his silence louder than any argument. Number 6, they reflect back truth. Perhaps the most powerful reason manipulators fear Sigma males is reflection. When a manipulator encounters a Sigma, it's as if they are looking into a mirror that refuses to lie. Most people respond to manipulation through emotion, anger, defensiveness, or confusion, but a Sigma doesn't. He stands still, calm and unbothered. This quiet composure acts like a mirror, reflecting the manipulator's true intentions back at them. What they see isn't what they expected. They see their own insecurity, deceit, and hunger for control. And that realization is terrifying. In psychology, this effect can be linked to a concept called psychological projection. Manipulators often project their flaws, arrogance, dishonesty, or emotional instability onto others to avoid facing them. But the Sigma male doesn't play along. His authenticity leaves no room for projection. When he doesn't react, argue, or feed into emotional traps, the manipulator loses control of the dynamic. The Sigma becomes a silent mirror, forcing the manipulator to confront the uncomfortable truth of who they really are. It's not confrontation through aggression, it's confrontation through presence. This quiet presence carries power. Studies in behavioral psychology show that emotional regulation and non-reactivity often shift power in social interactions. When one person remains calm while another tries to provoke chaos, the calm one holds control. Sigmas instinctively understand this. They don't need to raise their voice or prove their dominance. They simply remain authentic. This makes the manipulator feel small, not because the Sigma intends to belittle them, but because the manipulator's false image crumbles in comparison to genuine confidence. Imagine a room where everyone is wearing masks, pretending, performing, manipulating. Then a Sigma walks in, unmasked. His silence exposes everyone else's facade without him saying a word. The manipulator, who thrives on pretending to be superior or enlightened, suddenly feels naked. This is why they fear Sigmas. They cannot deceive someone who sees through illusions. In relationships, workplaces, and social settings, the Sigma's reflection acts as a psychological disinfectant. It burns away the manipulator's charm and control tactics. While others may get caught in emotional games, the Sigma's grounded energy disarms manipulation effortlessly. In a world built on pretense, the calm truth of a Sigma male becomes both a mirror and a weapon. One that reveals, humbles, and ultimately exposes the darkness in those who try to control others. The Sigma male's strength doesn't come from overpowering others. It comes from the kind of clarity most people never achieve. While many rely on manipulation, status, or validation to feel powerful, the Sigma male moves through life with quiet certainty. He doesn't chase approval or recognition because he understands that real confidence is internal, not given by others. When faced with deceit or control tactics, he doesn't need to argue or expose manipulators. He simply steps out of their game altogether. Psychology calls this detachment from toxic systems. The ability to disengage without emotional reactivity, which often disarms manipulators who feed on reaction. His silence is not weakness, but strategy. In fact, studies on social dynamics show that silence often shifts power, forcing others to reveal their intentions. The Sigma male's awareness, his ability to read people without speaking, becomes his greatest weapon, and his independence, free from the need to belong or conform, grants him peace that few ever find. In a world drowning in noise, opinions, and competition, his clarity feels like defiance. That's what truly terrifies those who try to control others. A man who cannot be controlled because he no longer seeks permission to be himself.